Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk a bunch of animated shows and movies here with new podcasts every other Wednesday. Find everything about us at overlyanimated.com. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
And Delaney Stovall will be joining us in a little bit for our main topic on Hilda Season 2. That's right, our main topic today is Hilda's new season. Very exciting, major release here. We are very excited to talk about it. Should have a lot to get into, so that's coming later in the podcast. You can check the podcast description wherever you're listening to it for timestamps on when that discussion will be. But first, we are going to start off with some things that we have been watching in animation recently, and we have a few interesting things, I think, to get into this week, this podcast. So I think we can get right into it. We should have plenty to talk about later with Hilda. So first thing, Michelle, is we're both big Summer Camp Island fans.
Yes.
And we had a 4-episode drop on HBO Max last week with it, which is the 4-part Susie / general backstory kind of arc for the show. Highly anticipated, just because we learned about it several months ago, and now we're finally getting it. Yeah, so that's good that we got it. I assume you liked it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this arc is so good. I love that they're just going for arcs now. Their commitment.
Yeah, is it going to be
exciting.
a thing? I don't know. Is this a special thing, or is it going to be a regular thing?
I don't know.
We'll see. Michelle's like, I'm ill because I see
I can't speak to that, but okay. I love this.
Yeah, you liked it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like I didn't expect us to get this amount of backstory. I assumed like things maybe casually said, like the way Susie would casually talk about Mildred every once in a while. But this was like the true OG origin story for why the island is the way it is and why it's a summer camp and the fate of magic in the world at large. Like this is so much, but I love how they handled it.
Yeah, I thought it was super fun. It was gorgeous, the animation.
Yes.
Some of this standout animation. It was really fun. I especially loved part 4. For me, it came together at the end. I was like liking parts of the first 3. I mean, I liked the whole thing, but part 4, I mean, like Susie has a big musical number. Like, come on, that was incredible.
I love that you consider that a big musical number. She does have her own.
That was my highlight of the whole thing.
Oh, really?
I loved it. No, but the best part for me, best part thing about part 4 was we get the tie into what seems like the overarching plot, I guess, now of Summer Camp Island, which was we're learning that everyone's magical. That's coming off of the heels of learning that Oscar's magical, and that felt very satisfying.
It's very satisfying, especially when we think like, oh, they've been seeding this so well for a couple seasons now. Because like, yeah, why does Lucy just hang out with Yetis all the time? Like, well, it's because she's part Yeti. Why is Hedgehog like so good at magic? Like, it's because she is magical. Like, all of this makes so much sense. And I love this layer to it. Like, none of these kids were accidentally just ending up at this island. It was all pre-planned by Susie and the witches. Like, I love that.
Learning that all the campers are magical is one of the best stealth reveals I think that I've ever seen. Like it's
stealth reveals.
It took 60 episodes, and then we drop it on us after like very subtly, like in the and coming on the heels of a less subtle but like characters focused arc. Like I just love how that was handled.
It's really interesting because it also just goes into the lore of like how magic is a resource that can be depleted, and that like generationally you have these kids that don't have maybe as much innate connection to magic as like an older time world used to have. And they're like the last hope, right? Like without them, like magic could just die forever. Like that's crazy, but it adds some real stakes to Summer Camp Island. And again, I didn't see any of this coming, but I really like that the show's going for it.
I love what it's doing here, yeah. And we get an overall explanation for, like, we kind of knew that the world, I guess, used to be, I don't know if we remember if we did, but we saw, like, when magic was more integrated into the world in episode 1. I thought that was really fun. Would have loved to have seen more of that, honestly, more than one episode, but maybe in the future. I think the other big takeaway is the Susie Ramona connection, and I think just Susie is painted as such a tragic character.
Yes,
after
especially
this
episode
backstory.
4. Like it's so devastating.
It's perfect for her. Like it's mean, but like it really. I mean, it's so tragic, like what it shows, and just strengthens an already incredibly strong character. And then this connection between Susie and Ramona, which I'm sure some people are interpreting romantically or in different ways.
Or in different ways. Interesting.
Or friendship is what the episode presents.
I will just say they want to retire together to a house in Massachusetts. That's their like life plan.
So I assume you would
the house.
Yeah, I didn't even have to ask. I knew you would. But this is, I assume, well, you could interpret this. The show is doing romantic friendship equals romance, akin to early She-Ra type of thing that it's kind of going for. Is what you could interpret this as.
I mean, I think it's one of those things where like it certainly helps if your romantic partner is your best friend, but that maybe the ultimate goal is finding a best friend regardless. Because I will say, like, I'm not 100% convinced that Oscar and Hedgehog are, like, going to end up in a romantic relationship.
I don't think they are. Yeah.
But for Ramona and Susie, I mean, I don't think this is me just having, like, queer goggles on. There is enough there to be like, oh my God, like I can't believe, but like again, that adds to the devastation of Susie's feelings of like betrayal. It's like, it's not just that her best friend lied to her. It's that like they had this life plan and Ramona's not sticking to it anymore for very good reasons that make 100% sense given the circumstances. But like, I think that deepens the wound, much more than it otherwise would have been. And I love that for drama, but it also just makes me sad because I hope they can be together in the future at some point.
Yeah. I wonder if I feel like just the tone of Summer Camp Island is very friendship and not about romance. So I feel like it'll probably stick to this forever.
For sure, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But I wonder, they could pivot this in the future. They could.
They could. Oh, I hope. I mean, personally, like wish list, bucket list, whatever. I hope they do.
It would be good. I also thought Betsy and Alice were really cute.
They're really cute. And we get their OG story too. Like I love that eventually Susie's like, all right, I promoted you from like just like in my coven to casual friends.
Yeah, that was very funny, very Susie. Yeah, so it's that, and just the explanation of why it's a summer camp. You got the backstory for the premise of the show. So I thought that was just such a big 4-part arc we get here, and probably one of the highlights. Not probably, for sure, one of the highlights of Summer Camp Island so far. Maybe even the best work from the show.
For sure. It just like it lays everything out so succinctly. I was also just very surprised that the falling out with Ramona happened literally the day that the campers arrived. I thought that was like I thought it was like a super old wound, but that actually makes a lot more sense because Ramona had been reaching out with the impression that Susie would still want to reach back to her. And it's because it's so fresh. It hasn't really sunk into Ramona maybe how devastated Susie is, or like the feelings are so fresh for Susie that she's just not willing to, be the bigger person and understand Ramona's side of doing what she did. But it's just really good. It makes so much sense with everything we know at this point, and it's very satisfying.
Yeah, I think so. The whole thing was very satisfying. Very happy with this Summer Camp Island Susie backstory, and we'll see if we get more from Summer Camp even in the following weeks. A little bit unclear, but we might be getting more episodes on HBO Max very soon. Okay.
Before we move on, I do have one theory I want to present to the table, because who knows when we'll talk about this show again. On my latest rewatch, I think Pajamas cracked the secret of saving magic. And I was shook. I did not remember this any time before watching it, but like what Pajamas says is like, he's like trying to piece it together. He's like, the prophecy says 2 best friends save magic. And then he says, because isn't that redundant? Because best friends are already 2 people. Do you know what that means? That means that Oscar and Hedgehog and Ramona and Susie have to work together to save magic. It has to be all 4 of them, because that's 2 pairs of best friends. They had been misinterpreting the prophecy, and that's why it hasn't worked yet. And this means there's going to be Susie Ramona redemption 100% guaranteed if the show concludes with that, with actually magic being saved. I think it's amazing that Pajamas like put this together without anyone taking it seriously. And I was shocked that I even understood what was going on this time watching it. But that's gotta be it. That's my hot take. And I feel very confident at this point that that's what's gonna happen eventually.
Okay. That was way above my head with with the prophecy logic, but I think I'm in. I think I'm in. Okay. That so it's two entities, two pairs of best friends instead
Pairs
of
of
two
best
best
friends.
friends. Okay,
Yeah.
that's that. I mean, I do think it's totally something the show would do is have pajamas casually drop what might be a big reveal later. Yeah, that checks out. Okay, that I mean, yeah, no, I think eventually we'll get Ramona back and it's an end game type of thing for Summer Camp Island. But
I just love it because, like, so much of Susie's dislike of Hedgehog and Oscar is that it just so painfully reminds her of her relationship with Ramona. So if, like,
yeah.
the next gen of what they had is essentially what's gonna save everything, that just seems like a really nice culmination for maybe, like, Susie and Oscar to, like, bury the hatchet to in some ways. And I really want that for them. That would be so awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, I'm in. I'm in. Let's do it. You're right. The show has definitely done parallels with those two before, which that seems like something we'd be building up to. Okay, we'll see. I'm sure that'll be immediately addressed in the next episodes, but no, probably not. We'll see in a few years or something. Okay.
Yeah.
Next thing we have to talk about the major animated movie release, Wolfwalkers, from Cartoon Saloon and is released on Apple TV Plus, is where you can find it streaming now. And I watched Wolfwalkers.
How was it?
I was completely blown away.
Oh, dang.
By Wolfwalkers. Like completely blown away. So this is the next movie by Tom Moore and Cartoon Saloon, who did who did two. I was listening to an interview with him. He described it as like a trilogy of movies. It's like an Irish mythology trilogy with Secret of the Kells and Song of the Sea. And I watched Kells close to when it came out, but I loved it. But it's been a while. But Song of the Sea I saw more recently. I gotta say, Wolfwalkers is a huge step up.
Wait, really? I love Song of the Sea. I was really
I think you're probably higher on that. I've heard you talk about how much you love it before. But I mean, that's a great movie, and it's beautiful. Oh my goodness, the animation in Wolfwalkers. I could talk about this monologue about this for like an hour, but I'll give the short version. Like honestly though, I've never seen a movie like this outside of Japan look the way Wolfwalkers looks. And even to be more specific, I've never seen a movie outside of Studio Ghibli look like Wolfwalkers.
Okay.
Wolfwalkers very much, this is a perfect time for you to watch this. We're coming off of our Ghibli rewatch series, where we've been dissecting it. Wolfwalkers very much reminds me of The Tale of Princess Kaguya, which is one of the most gorgeous movies ever made. And Wolfwalkers, I believe, is specifically trying to do what that movie does, in terms of animation. There's
visually?
multiple they're completely visually. And I will say the story, the characters are great. Like very good, but visually is like, that's a standout. That's what I'm talking about. Like for the rest of it. And I would say I love Maeve as a character. She's incredible. But, the visually, like what we do, there's contrasting animation styles at play. There's multiple styles. Very Takahata-esque. I believe this whole movie is extremely Takahata inspired. There's specific times when I feel like they said, we want to do that one standout scene in Princess Kaguya when, she's running away from the castle and the style completely breaks down into this very incredibly simplistic black lines. One of the greatest scenes ever. They try that multiple times in this movie. Like, I could not believe what I was seeing. They try that sort of thing many times throughout, in addition to contrasting animation styles. I don't know, maybe for like, maybe I'm getting too like animation nerdy with my, why I was impressed by this, but just for someone like me who's like such a fan of animation, this is the most remarkable, movie outside of Studio Ghibli I've ever seen. Visually, but in general, like I could not believe how incredible this was.
Dylan, when you said it was Takahata-esque, I initially thought like, oh, that means they really flex. Because when I think of Takahata, I think of him flexing animation as much as he can.
Yeah, no, they flex. They definitely flex. I think they integrate it really well. I think it's all really like well integrated into it's, you know, if you break style, you break down into more simplistic or a different, visual elements. I think it's all to meet the mood of the scene, to meet the tone. I'm gonna need to rewatch this movie several times and completely break down, like everything that it's doing. And the story, I mean, the story is very, Princess Mononoke-esque. It's, you know, I don't think it's like the complexity of the characters or anything is as much, but you could definitely draw a lot of parallels. Yeah, I cannot recommend Wolfwalkers highly enough. It's absolutely going to be my favorite movie of the year. And just, this is everything I think that Western animation never does, is what Wolfwalkers is. And I love it so much.
That's a glowing recommendation.
Yes. Okay.
I definitely want to watch it. I feel bad because, like, when I watch it, I'm probably going to have to watch it on my laptop the first time. And from what you're saying, this seems like the kind of movie you would preferably see on a larger screen just to take in all the stuff it's working with.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, you know, you want it on the biggest screen you can possibly do. But I'm sure it would look incredible on the laptop too. But any way you can watch it is good. So we could check it out. Maybe if we talk about Soul in the next podcast, we can like talk about it more. As just some of the standout big animation releases of the year. And speaking of which, the next thing is that we're having a third kind of huge animation release this year in December, which is Earwig and the Witch, which is a new Studio Ghibli movie. Speaking of Studio Ghibli, I thought this Wolfwalkers was heavily inspired by Studio Ghibli. The first Ghibli release in years, and it is by Goro Miyazaki.
Woo! Third time, let's go. Let's go, Goro.
Third time's the charm.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. We love his second movie, definitely. And I think by most people's standards, the first movie is incredibly promising at the very least. His first, so like I think getting another Goro movie is very exciting. Getting another Studio Ghibli movie is obviously like a huge deal. Like, I mean, if not for just the most gorgeous movie outside of Studio Ghibli I'd ever seen just now, like obviously Earwig would be the big story. And also, you know, potentially one of the best Pixar movies in years too. Very exciting December for animated films. We haven't seen Soul yet, so I don't know if that's true, but, that's just what some people are saying. But, this is, and the other big thing with, Earwig is it's going to be a 3D CG movie.
Yeah.
And so we saw the trailer, which there's a full trailer out if you find it somewhere, kind of a 2-minute trailer. Michelle, what are you looking forward to? I don't think we have subtitles for it, but like, what's your thoughts on like how this movie looks?
I mean, I'm fascinated. I actually really like all the character designs are so pronounced, and it's not, I mean, I think a lot of people talk about how Disney and Pixar have a lot of like samey faces. Maybe more so for like female characters than male characters. They tend to have more diversity in character models. But like there's a very specific kind of look to a lot of those characters. It's very recognizable as like a Disney or Pixar branded character. This just looks like, I don't know, it in a way, like I'm as excited about how distinctive the style of the world and characters are as I was with the Captain Underpants animated movie. Because like you're in animation, why not make like fun looking, like distinct, interesting characters? Like they don't have to all be smooth. So I'm really, really excited about how everyone looks. And it seems like there's going to be a lot of fun with like very specific kind of archetypes and characters with strong personalities. And honestly, I haven't read this book. I don't really know what to expect from the story, but I feel like it's going to be so different from what I'm used to seeing that like I'm really all in just on that premise alone. I am curious if Goro wrote this one or if he's just directing. And I don't know. I'm still a little cautious, but my expectations are like pretty high at the same time, just because like I think maybe the fact that it is like the whole movie is going to be 3D animated, it takes some of the pressure off to be as recognizably like Golden Age Ghibli. You know what I mean? Like it's a different medium to an extent where like maybe they can try some new things that aren't as like known branded like interests as they usually do, and like maybe that's going to be really freeing for them. Maybe like making it not 2D is going to make them take a lot more risks narratively or visually, like who knows. But I like that they're I don't want to say like evolving, because like 2D animation will always have a place in this world and be relevant and good. But I like that they're kind of like trying something new. Plus, like, Dylan, for the life of me, like everyone thought for sure Ghibli was done, but now they're back. So like anything's possible.
Yeah, I mean, they literally closed for several years.
They literally did. People moved, like people on staff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole spin-off studio where most of their staff went to, so I don't know who's working on this movie, but Goro and his dad are there, and according to Wikipedia, he is Goro's not credited on the screenplay, but we'll see when the movie comes out. Okay. 2 women potentially credited in the screenplay here, but we will see. I think a lot of people might be like, oh, Ghibli's giving in to the CG. Like, this is like, first of all, I think like, I'm one of those people that complains about how a lot of like Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, most major animation releases in America look pretty similar stylistically. Yeah. I think this movie looks very different.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
Despite it being computer generated, I think this is a very distinctive style. Honestly, I'm most reminded of like Coraline, like a stop motion-y style. So I'm very excited visually by this. I am biased in favor of 2D and hand-drawn animation. So I don't think this movie, like, personally to me looks as good as Studio Ghibli stuff, but I am excited by them trying this out, especially in the hands of Goro, who's younger and I think is an extremely promising storyteller who's already put out one of my favorite movies, in Poppy Hill. So, and just in general, I mean, any Ghibli release is a huge deal. So very, very excited.
That's the takeaway, right? Like any Ghibli release is worth checking out and seeing for yourself. But the fact that it's Goro is just like, it adds to the intrigue for me. Because like, it's only his 3rd movie and maybe so much changed in his life. Like this could be a whole new Goro for us, Dylan. Like,
it's a while later. It's true. There's a behind the scenes video. He's playing with puppets for some reason.
That's like the happiest I've seen him in any kind of documental footage in so long. And I'm just glad he has those puppets and he's having a good time.
Yeah, I don't think the puppets like actually animated. It's for reference, but maybe they are part of the animation. I think they're just
for fun for the office. They're just fun office puppets.
Fun outfit. Okay, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, so we'll see. This movie's being released on TV in Japan, which I believe is because of the coronavirus.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, so, but as I don't know when it's exactly being released yet in America, but, if it's being released on TV, it will be fan subbed and online pretty quickly, so, we'll be watching it. Probably not gonna officially talk about the podcast until it's eventually released. I really hope they do not try to release it in theaters in America, or at least put it online pretty soon after. But we will see what G-Kids does. So yes, that's Earwig and the Witch. Very, very excited for that. That's, it's December 30th in Japan, so only 2 weeks from now. Okay. Yeah, Michelle, next you had some thoughts on Carmen Sandiego's 3rd season, I believe came out pretty recently.
Yes, it did. It might have been like honestly a couple months. Like time runs together very different for me now. So like maybe it hasn't been out that long. It feels like it has for a bit. I feel like Carmen Sandiego isn't a show we've talked about in a hot minute, but especially season 2, I feel like so many amazingly interesting narrative things have been happening with like Carmen's backstory and figuring out her parents' situation and her lineage and like enemies becoming friends and just like so like there was a lot of hype running into season 3, and I will say some of that momentum has stayed pretty consistent, but the fact that only the first 5 episodes are out for this season, a lot's left to really dig into. I will say like as a whole, like I feel pretty fine about season 3 so far, but it doesn't quite have the highest highs of season 2. And I'm very curious what the direction could be leading up to the second half. And whenever that gets released, I'll have more coherent thoughts on the season as a whole, of course. But I mean, as always, the animation looks gorgeous. The colors are amazing. Like the style is so unique for that show. In a way that like nothing else really is. Like the way Carmen Sandiego looks is just so iconic in this version of her. And yeah, so I mean, not a lot of thoughts right now, but the episodes are very fun and they've introduced some interesting characters. I have questions about like Vile, you gotta like up your game, yo. Like you used to be so scary, and now it just seems like you're in like this weird transitional phase, and I expect more from them. But in general, like, yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. Excited for the second half to drop at some point in the future. Hopefully next year.
Yeah, I see it's 5 episodes. They did that. Netflix did their Netflixy thing
Their
where they split the
Netflixy thing.
season.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it might be officially, looks like it might be season 4 when they finally release the back half. I don't know. But, we went through this with Voltron and everything, so whatever.
Okay, so this is like precedented. This isn't a new thing.
Yeah.
Netflix. It's newer for me, but okay. I'll mentally.
I think they tried. We thought they stopped doing this.
Yeah,
but,
I thought they.
I mean, they did it with She-Ra. That one She-Ra season, they divided it into
a little
6
bit,
and
but
7.
then they stopped because maybe they realized that was
I
silly.
don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I'm glad you checked in on Carmen Sandiego. I know a lot of people are fans of that show. I'll do quick check-in on RWBY Volume 8 here, very quick. I'm still not crazy about Volume 8, but the last 4 episodes, I thought 3 of them were legitimately decent, so that's nice.
Good. Yay.
Episode 3 I thought was very fun. The most relevant thing for the podcast, flashback a year ago, Maddie, Haley, and I were ranting about how they end episodes on these dumb one-liners from this one character, Dr. Watts, and they end this episode on a dumb one-liner. You know what they say, if you can't beat them, make them join you. I cannot believe they did that.
Make them? That sounds forceful, Dylan.
Yeah, he's a villain, so that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's
loud. Okay.
Just really, they just go back to that more stupid lines down the Watts lines down the episode. Okay, that's fun. That was fun. That's probably my favorite episode so far. Is White Rose and Nuts and Bolts stuff. Episode 4. The most interesting I have to say about this one was there was a scene where there's a gorgeous scene of Ren and Yang arguing, and I thought this was the most gorgeous cinematography in a scene ever that I completely do not care at all about. So that's my take on that. But there's apparently a dumb Bumblebee line. I don't remember that. Episode 5. This is a very big episode, and it was good, but I really hated seeing Penny suffer so much right after she just came back. So it was a big Penny episode, but just personally hurtful for me. And there's cameos for Sun and Ilya. So that was clearly the best thing that's happened this season is Sun and Ilya appeared for 1 second in the episode. Really love that. And then episode 6, the most recent one, we did a very RWBY move in the 8th season of the show. We decided to give the most consistent villain in RWBY backstory finally, randomly. So I'm glad that we had a whole Cinder backstory. I actually thought it was very good. So I'm glad that we got Cinder backstory in there. But it was, I don't know why we did it now. So we'll see about, where Volume 8 goes. I think we have one more episode and then they're actually taking a few months break for RWBY, because of, production delays as every show is going through. So, I guess if I have any thoughts on episode 7, we'll give it next podcast or whatever, maybe. But yeah, Volume 8 has had some good, interesting episodes so far.
It sounds like a fascinating show.
Yeah, well,
I don't know anything about it. It has a lot of seasons, it sounds like, though.
Yeah, no, well, you can listen to the Volume 7 premiere podcast if you want Michelle's thoughts on watching one episode of RWBY. That was
that's that one episode. It's true.
That one episode. I remember nothing.
I remember I said there are too many men in it, and I hold by that. It's only 4 ladies, the main characters, so why is there any
Michelle, we started it, and that's what we thought was happening, and then they add 50 characters, and they don't focus on the main characters.
That's the worst thing. Why does anyone keep doing that? That's so upsetting. Well, I'm sorry.
Thank you for your condolences about being a RWBY watcher. It is true. It is needed. Okay, there you go. That's what we've been watching recently. We have our main topic on Hilda coming up, so let's get into that now. Okay, let's move on to our main topic now, which is Hilda Season 2, and we're now joined by Delaney Stovall. Hello, Delaney.
Hey, y'all.
Yes, so it's hit time for Hilda. We're talking everything about Season 2, which just dropped on Netflix. As of this recording, it was just 2 days ago on Monday. It is 13 episodes. The kind of highly anticipated second season to Hilda. It's been a minute since the first season of the show, and
a very long minute.
Yeah.
2 whole years.
Yeah, over 2 years. Wow.
So long.
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah, I mean, this is, one of the highest quality animated shows in terms of production values, so I think that makes sense. Plus, pandemic delays, plus maybe they didn't greenlight it right away after, right after production of the first season. But here we are. We have Season 2 out, and, a lot of people love the show. We talked about Season 1 forever ago. We love Hilda, so very excited to get into all of Season 2. We are going to get into spoilers right away here. Hilda, not a show with a ton of spoilers, but I would say make sure you've seen the second season if you...
There are spoilers. Don't be brave.
More than don't be brave. Definitely more than season one.
Your
more
luck.
spoilers.
Yeah, don't do it. It's not worth it.
Don't be brave. Is that a more? What's Hilda says be brave. I think.
Yes.
Be an adventure. Yeah. Okay.
We do have a whole episode about bravery.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna get into it right away. So, spoilers for Hilda season 2 starting now, all 13 episodes. Let's just start with kind of a 30-second reaction to the season. Don't need to get into specifics. We'll get into the specifics as we go. But just like overall, Delaney, how are you feeling about season 2 of Hilda?
I loved it. I watched it with my wife. My wife and I love Hilda. When they finally announced a date, like anytime there was news, my wife was like, "Oh my God," and would make sure to send it to me if I hadn't seen it already. So we're very excited to watch. Hilda's just like a comfort show. It's just nice to sit and watch. It's like the art's cute, all the characters are cute, and it's like putting on a warm blanket. Like I just love watching Hilda. And that's what it was like. It's so good. Also, I wanted a milkshake so bad the whole time I was watching, which is not a bad thing. It's just like, it's just, you want to have good things while you're watching Hilda.
Were there milkshakes in the season, or is that just...
No, it was comfortable like a milkshake.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted... I will say, as someone who was not that into drinking veggie broth, they kind of made me want veggie broth. I was feeling that vibe. Like, I was like, oh, I kind of want... That sounds pretty good. Everybody's like flipping out about it. I'm like, maybe I want veggie broth.
Okay, Delaney, for like a quick aside, since you brought up, is the Hilda universe vegetarian? Because there's veggie broth and there's some other veggie thing that I was like, it seems like a specific like thing that they're not showing meat eating here.
You make a good point. I will say they show the trolls eating meat.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's something.
What was the other veggie item? I'm trying to remember. Maybe
everything. Apparently the only thing they ever eat is like, I guess, shepherd's pie, like whatever.
That's true.
Always making that.
And in England, that usually has meat in it. Those types.
Yes,
of pies.
but hers doesn't look like it has meat in it. But like, who knows? Like, the only thing I can say for certain it has in it is peas. Like that's the only thing.
I agree. It looked like peas, and then other stuff. Okay.
I think it would make sense, or at the very least, Hilda would definitely be a vegetarian.
I think I could see her and her mom not eating meat.
Yeah.
I don't think the show has touched on that. Maybe there's something from season 1 I don't remember, but that stood out to me. It's like, why veggie broth? Like, that's a pretty specific thing.
I would agree. It's definitely also the fact that it's like broth at all. Like, it's such a weird.
It's weird that it's broth.
Broth.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely weird. The main thing is it's weird that it's broth, but at least in America, usually broth has meat in it. As I know, trying to navigate that and find non-meat broth. But yeah, it's.
Oh God, I know. It's like,
annoying.
bro,
Yeah.
I just want veggie broth. Like
they have it. Apparently, they have the best one. Okay, there you go. That's the aside. Michelle, what's your 30-second reactions to Hilda season 2?
Oh man, I mean, I started off this season a little stressed out just because of dynamics that were changing, and I was not 100% for it initially. But by like the middle and definitely the last handful of episodes, I was just like a sobbing mess for a hot minute, and just like I don't know. I mean, the first season was such a standout, and none of us expected it because it was a brand new show. But the bar had kind of been raised, but for this one, like, I was a little worried, like, oh, like, now that they're not making this, like, they're making news stories not based on graphic novels anymore, is, like, the essence gonna be gone? But, like, no, the essence is absolutely still there. And in some ways, I felt like it was even more poignant this time around than the first season, and that's definitely saying something. So I really like this season, and it's honestly hard to even pick, like, a best episode. I don't think that's going to be possible for me this time, and I think it was a little easier last time.
Interesting. Okay, I have some standout episodes. One. Yeah, I have 2.
Okay,
so we'll get there.
I do have a question. So, were you saying season 1 was based off the graphic novel?
Yeah. I did research. Let me answer
4,
this.
I think. Yes. This was only based off of 1.
Yeah. Michelle's right. So I've not read the graphic novels, but season 4 there's 4 graphic novels that were included in the season, and then there are also original stories. Season 2, only the finale is an adaptation of the 5th graphic novel. Everything else is original. So the finale is actually straight up adaptation from the season. And then this season ends on a cliffhanger, which mirrors the 5th book, and then the sixth graphic novel, which is the most recent one, is the follow up to that. So presumably,
Am I gonna have to buy all the graphic novels? Is that what you're telling me?
I mean, maybe, but this hasn't been widely publicized. But there, according to some recent press release a few months ago, there is a Hilda movie in production.
Yeah,
a 70-minute movie. So I assume that will be based off the 6th graphic novel, which will follow up on the finale, which had the cliffhanger, which is the same.
So we're gonna get the movie, not season. Oh, I guess we could still get season 3, but it'll be a movie. You think?
Right. As of now, we're getting a movie, which seems pretty likely will be based on the 6th graphic novel. There's no more graphic novels. We don't know about future seasons, though. Yeah. So I think there could be. I'd love that if there is a fully original season.
So when you say no more graphic novels, do you mean like currently or like they done?
I don't. I'm not sure.
You don't
currently.
know.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. I knew it was a graphic novel, but I didn't know anything else.
Luke Pearson's the one who created the series.
The graphic novels, and he makes the series, so he presumably
up to him. He wants to
busy,
keep going.
Whatever he decides to do.
Yeah. So we'll see. But I was figuring that out after the season. But yeah, it's interesting how most of the season's original stories, then they do the adaptation in the finale. But I think it makes sense and we had a double length finale. This is a big drop of episodes. Like this was 13 plus the finale was a double length plus one of the episodes was extended too. Like this was
the
Twig episode. Yeah,
the Twig episode.
So this was a lot, and we watched it very quickly. But we love Hilda, so it was fun. Yeah, no, I love this season. I was very, very impressed with the season of Hilda. I think Hilda, like at its best, which is true of season 1, and especially true of the season, is like as like enchanting and engrossing as like anything on TV. I thought there are a few episodes of the season which I thought were incredible. Big step up from last season, a few episodes. Overall, the season was really good. And then I think a few episodes, like a handful or less, were a little bit ho-hum for me. But I think for the most part, like everything, and they were still fun, but especially, for the most part, like everything was like really, really good, this season. I really connected with at least 2 in particular. Plus did love the finale. And I love some of the themes it's going for. Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the highlights for me is there's more serialization this season.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few, I think, pretty clearly defined season-long arcs that they're going for here, which the finale specifically brings to a head to a certain extent.
It kind of does all of them, really. Like, it's really, I think they did a really good job with all the different arcs. And the thing is, like, we only had 13 episodes, but you have, like, so looking at the outline, we'll talk about them, obviously, but there's, like, 4 defined arcs that Dylan's listed, and they, like, hit on all of them, and then they all play a part in the finale. So I think Hilda did something that a lot of shows struggle with, and granted, it can be a little bit different, like, when you have a little bit more, trying to, like, kind of how Korra was, like, you have a story within a season, but except we ended on a cliffhanger, so that's not strictly true. So I think they did a really good job of, like, tying up loose ends, and so we ended on a cliffhanger, but, like, we didn't leave anything, like, hanging, like, all of this will carry over, but we also, like, there was satisfaction to what we got. Even if some of the arcs didn't begin until a little bit further, we still got really good wrap up, like on Frida learning magic, and we even get some really good, like, even though that episode was just like one pass, like the Hilda and Twig were really paying off on that.
So I initially kind of defined 3 arcs, and Michelle has added a 4th arc, which I do agree with. And so, like, going over those quickly, I would say, like, if you're going to identify, like, what's the main plot, in quotes, of the season, and Hilda's mostly a non-serialized show, mostly just one episode at a time containing stories, although a few episodes of the season follow up on stories from season 1. But I would say probably the thing that seems like the main plot of the season is this new villain, Eric Alberg, and then him installing bells throughout Trollberg, and then the trolls themselves, kind of all tied together. I feel like as do you guys agree what feels to me like kind of the main thing going on?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would also say that the trolls is quite possibly the longest, like, narrative that has happened in the show, because the trolls were still a very big part of the first season, and I love that they're doubling down on it in a bigger focus. Like, this might be the through line for the show, just because they live in Trollberg, and I just remember, like, when Hilda's asking Alberg, like, why did you decide to build a town in the middle of troll country? And his response is like, well, they weren't doing anything with it. And I think that really sets the tone for, like, one of the biggest issues here that's like been there for forever. It's just like trolls and humans. And can they learn to, like, can humans basically learn to just not be terrible to trolls? The trolls are like doing okay by themselves.
Yeah, and I want to get into like the themes surrounding that, the like any sort of metaphors or themes, which I think are very present. But and that's a great point, Michelle, that the trolls was a big part of season 1. They referenced the troll coming into the city plot episode, I think, several times in the season. And
she tied the bell on the troll's nose in like episode 1 or 2 of the first season, right? Like all the way back then, bells and trolls were
Troll is the iconic creature of Hilda. My comparison, Delaney, trolls are the Daleks of Hilda.
Yes, I would definitely agree. That's accurate.
I actually see a lot of
we literally had a straight up Doctor Who episode this season.
I've never watched Doctor Who. I know what Daleks are.
Yeah, I mean that's the iconic creature villain of.
Yet they're also weeping angels.
I guess turn to stone.
In the way that they function.
More direct functional comparison. Yeah, I would say like Daleks are the most dangerous creature in Doctor Who, and I think that's what trolls are here. Yeah, I actually see a lot of Doctor Who comparisons in the structure of the show. Doctor Who's also like has a little bit of serialization, but is pretty one adventure at a time.
Hilda and the Doctor are not dissimilar characters.
Yeah, whereas in this essay, I will. Yeah, so well, that's the next podcast. Okay, that's it. Yeah, I'd love, and obviously both British shows, and I mean the show is produced U.S., Canada, and voiced in England. But yeah, it's so that was kind of back to Eric Alberg. Yeah, as the new villain, we'll talk about him. But that was kind of like a definite through line through the season. Bells everywhere. A second one, Frida learning magic throughout the season.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's also the fact that Hilda is her familiar is the funniest thing that's ever happened.
That's really funny. I was waiting for that to,
yeah. Can be so funny to a witch. That's the best thing.
So good.
It's a great concept. I love to like see what that means. Like,
so good.
Episode 3, I'm like, okay. It was very satisfying. I'm like watching them. Like, if I'm writing this episode, Frida's going to turn out to be the one who's
they did it.
Very satisfying. I feel like that she like that. That's great. Like Frida's such a great character, and giving her this huge plot line, pretty similar to Hedgehog in Summer Camp Island, which she's going through. I would say of learning magic kind of sequentially throughout the season. And I think it was great. And yeah, it does. Since episode 3, it's like most prominently manifests in the finale. And then I think a third one, which I do think maybe snuck up on you as was referenced as not something right away, but I was pretty blown away by this theme's inclusion in the season was Hilda kind of like not telling her mom about her adventures and what she's doing.
Hilda, stop lying to your mom. You have a really cool mom, and like you need to stop. Like you're stressing me out, you're stressing mom out. Like why you do this? Like the whole time me and Tanya were like, stop lying to your mom.
She should just tell her mom everything.
Her mom's super cool. Like
that's what the finale's about as well. Mom's pretty cool. Yeah.
Like this whole time, I told you, Hilda, I could have told you this in season 1 that your mom's really cool, and like, come on.
Yeah.
I just don't like. I get it. It's one of those like conflicts that like you just, when you're 16 and you read the young adult book and you're like, yeah, your parents suck. Now, as an adult, I'm like, no, listen to your mom, please. Oh my God. Like, or it's like just that conflict of not telling the parent. It's just so frustrating.
Right. Now it's like, just do it. Yeah.
Just do it. And in this case, it's really frustrating because Hilda's mom is so cool. Like, Hilda, you have the coolest mom.
The thing that really, and that's why I said, like, I started the season off with, like, a lot of stress that I didn't want to be happening. It was all about them, like, teasing that strain on their relationship. And I think part of the thing that hurts with Hilda and her mom especially is because in season 1, they balanced their relationship to such a remarkable extent that normally you don't get. Like, their relationship and communication, for the most part, was very refreshing and very solid. So the fact that it's like there are fractures now is like all the more devastating because they were so on the same page before. And it's not like, I feel like in the first season, it was more that, her mom wanted her to acclimate to this new like neighborhood situation and like have friends who were humans and like, but then she pretty quickly learned to accept that Hilda's still going to be involved with like supernatural things. And that's a part of her. And Hilda needs to know that her mom loved her like just as much, understanding that she's like kind of like an odd duck. And this time it's more like I don't know. It's like Hilda wants to go do things, but she's like worried her mom's going to be upset, which like I totally get. But it's like, how do you find that balance? Because
well, I think it almost plays like I get to the finale and it's like, Hilda, why are you yelling at your mom? Shut up. Like I think it's not that it's not believable. It just almost feels a little like I have no sympathy for Hilda in like a lot of this season when she's like mad at her mom. And it's just like I don't know if it's just a me thing or if it's just they just kind of rushed it a little bit to form the conflict because it's like they were really chill. And then I understand like not wanting to be grounded, but it was also like, girl, I would have grounded you too. Like, so I don't know. Like, I'm not disliking Hilda, but there were several moments this season where I was like, stop yelling at your mom. She's not doing anything. Like.
Yeah.
I think maybe part of it's just like playing to Hilda's character because like she is known to be a bit more brash and to not necessarily think things through. Like that's Frida's strength. That's why Frida makes such a good witch. And Hilda found a lot of like the spell work like so boring. Like that's not the kind of person she is. And maybe it's just that like she's like, but if I tell my mom, she'll be worried. And so it's better to just not tell her. If she doesn't know, it's fine. And she doesn't connect the dots to like.
Well, I think it's more the lying. Like that's the thing that got me too. Was like it wasn't just not telling her. Like she was just straight up lying. And then when her mom's like, I said she came in here and told the truth, and I was like, you did. And Tontu's like, I'm out of here. He's like, I'm taking my pie and I'm going.
Tontu has the right idea this entire season.
I forgot about Tontu. Should I add him to the characters list?
Yeah, let's add him.
Okay, we can add Tontu.
I think Tontu has some like good, like I love their little family.
This is probably our Tontu discussion.
Yeah, he's just like helping her store stuff and just like, look how tiny the house is.
Well, it's like everyone like comes for dinner. It's so sweet. And then Hilda's like the problem child, and Tontu's like, can you please cut the pie so I can go, please. Please, I'm not going to get dinner, please.
Yeah, I do like how they're presented. No, I think throughout the season I found it, a little frustrating that Hilda just wouldn't tell her mom everything because there's no, like, plot reason why she wouldn't. But I also, thinking about it, do find it understandable that, like, Hilda does kind of have this secret life. You didn't think about it like this before this season, or at least I don't remember thinking about it after season 1. Like, she had this secret, like, fantasy life from her mom, but... this isn't the type of thing a kid. I do think realistically, it's not the type of thing a kid would want to tell their parent. Like they would be like, "Oh, you have to be more careful. You have to be worried." So, I do think it checks out. But there's also just no barriers to Hilda sharing everything with her mom, and we know Joanna's so cool and that she would like probably take everything well enough. But I do think the season did integrate it really, really well in the time travel episode. I thought that was like really incredibly done, and then in the finale, so good. And then in the finale too. So like as much as like when it casually came up, I found it a little bit a little frustrating. Like when the season wanted to really touch on this kind of like arc or theme, I think that it was very good.
Yeah, there's the moment I think in episode 8 when she sees her mom crying in the car and she's kind of like, oh, this is the impact my decisions are having on my mom and I don't want that. I think honestly Hilda just hadn't been realizing her impact on her mom in that way. And I think there's another moment in the finale when she's like in the cave with her mom and her mom's like, Hilda, like, I know you don't like listening to me, but I really told you to stay behind this time. She's like, I couldn't help it. Like, I couldn't stand the thought of, like, not knowing where you were.
And it's like, it's how your mom
like,
feels.
Exactly.
Bro.
But I love that the show didn't, like, make her be like, oh, that must, they didn't, like, handhold you through that. But, like, clearly she's, like, she's figuring it out in her own time. And I like that it's not all at once. It seems a lot more gradual, which in reality for a kid Hilda's age, maybe it would be like that. Like a handful of moments versus one dawning realization.
I still want to shake her, but you're right.
Thinking about this, something that's jumping out to me as Hilda's maybe what she's going through this season is opening up her perspective. Maybe another way of looking at it is like learning to be more empathetic, because I think like she's not thinking things through in terms of what her mom's going through. She sees her in the car. That's a moment she's like, oh, I'm not considering how not telling mom's affecting her. I think there's a similar thing in the Twig episode where we see from Twig's perspective him kind of being left behind. And then eventually Hilda's like, oh, I'm not going to take you for granted is kind of the lesson of that. So maybe, Hilda is learning to broaden her perspective into those around her, which to me seems like a very realistic journey for a kid her age to be going through.
Yeah, definitely.
I think
and
it's
not
important.
being so like focused on her.
Yeah.
It's important to note though, like Hilda seems exceptionally good at having empathy for the creatures that humans don't normally. It's just that she has trouble having empathy for like the immediate people in her life, which I think is an interesting reverse of like what's maybe more normal. Like she has so much more empathy for trolls and dragons and like all these other critters, but then it's like, oh, okay, mom, yeah, I'll stay home. Just kidding. Sorry to break your heart again. And not
it's kind of like, I mean, Hilda's always like arguing with the woodmen and being like, you're so selfish. And it's like, Hilda, what you doing? Like,
yeah, and that's why at first I think I didn't describe this as necessarily her not being empathetic, because I do think like she cares about her mom. It's just like I feel like it's not natural for her to necessarily consider every single person around her. And when you're younger, I think that's
exactly.
That's not as much of a thing. I do think Hilda in general very empathetic. But she also has like so much going on for a kid.
I think just for Hilda, there's just like no grasp of consequences, like none. Like Hilda is like the definition of your frontal lobe is not developed. Like Hilda's like, we're gonna go do this, and it's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense too. Yeah, that comes with her arc of coming from the countryside and being more freely roaming around, and she's kind of
that's true.
More confined in the city now. So I think that's really interesting. Yeah, Hilda, I guess getting into this kind of the Hilda character discussion portion to a certain extent now, didn't necessarily jump out at me as like obvious standout like qualities to her arc this season, but I think there's a lot of like interesting now that we're talking about a lot of interesting subtle character work that we did with Hilda here.
Well, I think I think what we're exploring with Hilda is interesting, and not necessarily like kind of what we were talking about, like not recognizing. That's like when she goes to save the dragon. They don't want to be saved.
Yeah.
So,
we love it. We get to roam on a ship forever. It's great.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. I think this like not necessarily like knowing what's best. It's kind of like chaotic good. That's like what Hilda is. It's like it's just it's intense and like it's not necessarily good. It's just like she just do what she wants to, and like it's not bad. Like she has good intentions, but it's also like no. This is what we wanted.
I like that chaotic good for Hilda.
Like chaotic good. I think Hilda's probably the most chaotic good.
Interesting. I like that. Okay. And then we can come back to Hilda too. And then Michelle, you also identified Hilda and Twig's relationship as a season-long arc.
Yeah, because like I noticed Twig starting to get left behind a handful of episodes leading up to like the penultimate episode maybe of the season, and like every time it hurt because Twig he looks so excited, and then the door just keeps shutting in his face. He just looks so sad, and then we just move on to a Hilda adventure. It's like, why aren't you bringing Twig anymore? He's so useful.
Also, he's a genius and he's way smarter than all of you.
Yeah, which
like Twig figures everything out, and they're like, "Thanks, Twig," and it's like, "Y'all are useless."
At first, it's like, okay, this is like a TV animal. Like, it's not really smart. It's just like being, but turns out Twig is like a magical species and maybe actually very intelligent.
I'm pretty sure he's like a celestial being at this point.
Right, that's kind of what it's portrayed as.
Yeah, they like lived in the sky, like normally. Like, what the heck?
This was one of my first notes on the season is, wow, there's so much Twig, like so much more Twig this season.
Which is good.
Several episodes, Twig is like part of the group as a character. Other episodes, you're kind of seeing the lead up to the Twig is left behind in episode 9. And then you get the full on Twig, Appa alone type episode.
No, I literally, the episode started and I was like, no, it's Appa alone.
My reaction, and then it gets actually good. That's the difference.
Yes, that's true. I don't want this to be Appa's Lost Days. I was like, I don't want to relive this. Appa alone.
It's half Appa's Lost Days, half its own, I don't know what I'd compare it to, but yeah. I'm
not here for this. And the whole time me and Tanya are crying. Like, I was like, no, don't run away.
It's so devastating. You don't expect it
God, when you think he's gone, I was like,
I was making peace with it, and then when he came back, I was like, "Well, thank God," but like also, I would have honored your decision to be in the sky.
Making peace. I was like so upset, and then he came back, and I was like, "Thank God!" Like I was like, "No!" Like when he legit left, I was like, "No!"
He leaves. Yeah. So that this is one of the episodes I'm most eager to talk about. But in general, like a ton of Twig, and I was very happy as a big.
Also, Twig with other characters, like Twig and David are like best friends.
Twig and David. That was so good.
Yeah, there's a few in the beginning. Twig is just tagging along in the dragon episode. Yeah, so I was very happy to see it. I have my Twig plush here. It's wonderful. They finally made it. Let's talk about that episode. The Deer Fox episode 9 extended Twig episode. So happy we got a full Twig origins. We start off. Okay, it's Twig's perspective. Twig's left behind.
It's super sad.
Very sad. We start interspersing flashbacks of, and it turns out non-linear flashbacks, which is amazing. This is probably the most narratively complex episode of Hilda, and it's about Twig. Perfect. Love it. And
Most important character.
Yes, no, seriously though. I think after season 1, it's like, okay, Twig is the mascot character. The Twig is a legit important.
No, he's an important character, and he's apparently a mystical creature.
Yeah, so they tie in these flashbacks of Hilda and Twig meeting and that entire journey that they go on. And then we see just the moment in this episode we see all of the deer fox, the kind of adult deer fox in the clearing. I was just wowed from that point on in that episode.
It looks so majestic. We're so used to Twig just being so like squatty and short, and it's like, whoa, he's gonna grow into that? Like, okay.
Also, can we talk about even when he was a baby and he had the little horns?
Yes,
so
that was
cute.
good too. We got so many. We have young Twig, and then there's even baby Twig, and then we're see what Twig's going to grow up to be. Oh man, I'm so excited.
Hilda's going
to
to ride him into battle.
Right?
That's what I was thinking. Like adult Hilda, adult Twig are going to be such a duo. Like I can't even imagine.
This was definitely one of my 2 standout episodes of the season. The Deer.
Oh, same. It was this one and
What's your other one? See if we have the same one.
Can you guess?
Well, I'll tell you. I would guess it would be mine too, which is episode 8, the 50 year night.
Nope, it's the witches.
The witches.
Actually, that's been my top 4. I couldn't.
The witch
decide,
episode 3.
I did really like the 50-year night. I did.
It is really good.
I would have predicted. Yeah, you guys love the. I mean, I like that too. That's in my top. That's one of the ones I thought was very good. But yeah, to me, it's like, okay, the season's good. Then we get to episode 8, and this is like the perfect episode for me. Shockingly, I love the time travel romance episode, which is
it's really well done.
But
really
it's
and
incredible.
Then it literally just turns into a Doctor Who episode at the end.
Yeah, and got that worm and like
it's
Hilda's
literally Doctor. I was like, this is literally that episode with Rose and her dad.
It's so much.
I love that episode so much, and then episode 9 is completely blown away by. So I mean, the season was good already, but the 2 back to back, just the 2 episodes, I completely like.
Well, you're talking about non-linear storytelling. I mean, we talk about the 50-year night. Like, I'm still not over like when it opens. And Alfred's like, oh God, because you see them running down the street and like 15 minutes later, like it's ridiculous. That episode's ridiculous.
Okay, we're going to talk more. Okay, we're talking about that episode now. It's it's so tragic, which I think is a perfect.
You know what's happening the whole time. And you're like, no. And then it's just like, and then I like, okay, like in the back of my head, like I was like, is it Tildy? Like, and then
you thought it was Tildy? I had no idea it was Tildy.
How would you assume that, Delaney? How?
Because she's so short.
Oh my God, it's true. Because in the flashback, she's still really short.
And that's the only thing. I was like, is it like? I was like, this has to be important. And then like, no, that was the thing though. Is that was just an errant thought I had.
Yeah.
And then I was still super
It's impressive. It's impressive. I did not know. I mean, Tildy had just really been in episode 3.
Okay, Tildy is like so great. Like,
she's amazing.
Such a great character. I love that she just appears just to yell at the council. It's so good.
Yeah,
she's like so done with like she.
Also, she literally could have returned that book whenever she wanted to.
Yeah, there's that super powerful old person not caring about and just
the rules and they're stupid. It's so good.
50-year night. I mean, it's just such a good executed time travel episode. We had we lampshaded the time travel stuff with Alfred just trying to figure out the time travel rules the entire episode. I think that's amazing.
I liked at the end he was like, I don't even know how I would tell your mom that you left. Exactly. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I can't explain this.
I love the time worm, the concept of the time worm as an action-y.
Also, the time worm is terrifying.
It is. Yeah. It is.
it, because like there's so many ways you've seen like consequences of time travel. Having a literal monster is very effective. More people should do that. The only other example I can think of is like the Langoliers from Stephen King that just eat dead time.
Literally an episode.
It's great.
That's basically what happens in Doctor Who. Is the
which Doctor Who episode are we comparing this to?
God, it's the I don't remember it's the wedding. It's when Rose rescues. She wants to meet her dad, and
there's also like the Rhino Police now in modern.
There's the Rhino Police.
Are they in time travel stuff? Okay, anyway.
Oh god, there's so many. And then there's like Jack Harkness and those time police. And then, but no, I'm thinking of the one where it's the wedding and like Rose goes to meet her dad, and then they're like gargoyles and they start murdering everyone.
Not remembering.
It's literally like I'm pretty sure it's in season 1. So like,
I don't remember. But that sounds right. That sounds right. Murders Gargoyle sounds right. Eric Alberg is like an evil Jack Harkness. How about that?
Yes.
Okay.
God, I hate him so much.
We're coming back to him. Let me finish talking about 50-Year Night. We'll get to Eric Alberg. So, not even like super like highly utilized. Like not even like a big part of the episode, but just like a smaller, amazing part is we have like edgy time travel Hilda, who's wearing
I know,
red.
and then she dies.
And then she dies. Amazing.
It's just like
Alcor at the end.
In the time travel episode with his little time dial.
You always need a hardened version of the character. Yeah, it's great.
And then like Alcor is at the end. It's like we watched ourselves die.
Yeah,
twice.
Yeah.
Then just the way this episode presents the mystery with the magazines and answers it with how it was Tilde the whole time and ties it to the rest of the season. And then the biggest thing is just the gorgeous tragic romance that's presented with Hilda, with Mr. Ostenfeld and Tilde, which I was so into it.
And then they have to be. Oh, my favorite's when she goes to Tilde's, and Tilde's like, "Yeah, so apparently I got married 50 years ago," and and she's like, "Do you have anything to do with this?"
Yeah, and in the midst of all this, we talked about with the scene with Hilda and her mom in the car, which is like brilliantly, I think, like tied into the mechanics of the episode. And then at the end, they have a moment. And she apologizes, like, and it also ties into the plot of what's going on in the larger season. In addition to containing Tilde, a character also in the season, in addition to just being an incredible self-contained episode. I really love this one.
And it ties into all the magic.
Yes, true. Yeah.
It ties in all the magic, and also like the door is still open. Like one tragic romance has definitely been eaten by a worm, but the other can still happen because now they know, or at least Tilde knows who he is, and she could rekindle that whenever she wants.
Yeah, they should. Yeah, they could get together in the present.
Also, apparently, Tilde just lives around the corner after they went through that giant magic maze. Amazing.
I don't understand where she lives. I don't get it.
Well, now that they know and she thinks they're cool, they can come over whenever, I guess.
I'm like, I love the real door instead of the sneaky back door.
This is not an important question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So I had this thought during the Jorts episode. So like they're like, whoa, there's an address on the back of the bag, and I'm like, how big is Trollberg? Because like in my mind, I'm like, it can't be like you can find the skyscraper, guys. It's not like how many skyscrapers are there in Trollberg?
Yeah, no, I was like, why is there a downtown part of Trollberg with giants? Yeah,
exactly. And I'm also like, y'all literally live around the street from all other main characters, so I'm just a little confused about why you have to go downtown to the Jorts.
No, I think it's a TV city that meets the needs of what's happening.
Well, my wife was like, she goes, I think Trollberg is like New York. And I was like, that's really big, but okay.
They also have their own like local news channels and stuff. It's like that would indicate a big city. However, it also seems not that big in other aspects.
It also runs on magic, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it's a bigger on the inside situation.
Who knows?
Maybe that's happening at some point. Okay, so let's come back to other standout episodes in a second, and let's go back to Eric Alberg, who.
If we must.
As soon as they introduce him, I see him like in the intro, and I'm like, he's gonna suck. And then I was like, yep, he sucks. Like
then he opens his mouth, and you hear that just devious voice, and you're like, oh no.
Well, at first you think it's okay, and then he's just so openly like, I'm gonna cause problems on purpose so I can be famous. And Hilda can't do anything about it.
Yeah. I anticipated you guys wouldn't be crazy about Eric Alberg. I mean,
You mean we're not going to be really excited about this like sleazy dude?
Yeah, I am though, because he is.
He literally like posed as the statue of the guy who murdered trolls. I mean, like that was
that's his ancestor.
One.
Yeah, he's also like
so annoying.
Yeah, he's like a legacy type of rich person too. I love charismatic, whether they be villains or just like mean characters.
No,
I hate you, Dylan.
No,
yeah,
he's not a mean girl.
He says Joey. I mean, he's not a straight mean girl because he's an actual villain.
He's not redeemable.
No, of course he's not as good as Zhao. But yeah, it's a similar type thing. I would say he's more of a Gaston,
Gaston, that's true.
And I love Gaston, love villains like this. So I was feeling Eric Alberg. I don't think the season does anything like super and incredible that would make me like.
No, he's just
think
literally
this is an
so
amazing
annoying.
character.
That's the only reason he exists.
I think he more represents some things, which is the thing I want to talk about. But in general, I thought he was really fun, especially in the beginning of the season.
Is like so much better.
Yeah, and then there's of course the nicer one too.
But she like really goes on a journey. Like you really start to see her really irritated, and she actually cares about the kids. So like Gerda's great.
She just needed her eyes to be opened and to not listen to Alberg anymore.
And literally, no one cares that Alberg is a fly.
I don't care. He might accidentally be crushed in that jar, and I was going to be so excited if he died.
I will say, I was concerned for him the whole time. I was like, "Are there holes in there? Can he breathe?"
Right, they didn't poke holes in the top. I thought the same thing.
There were no holes at all.
Sad.
There were no holes. I was like, "Is he going to die in there?" Like.
We're talking about these kind of main arcs of the season. I will say the finale, while it touches on all of these things, and even the Hilda Twig, there's like a heroic Twig moment. So like I do think all of these things are very purposefully touched upon by the finale. And by the way, if this is the adaptation, they reverse engineer the season from that fifth book, which is interesting. But I don't think the finale ties a bow on anything here. I think all of this is just like touched upon in a significant way, but not resolved.
Do you mean all of them, or
I think every single one of these arcs is not really like fully resolved, and your mileage may vary on how satisfying that is. I think for the most part, all of them are pretty satisfyingly touched upon at the end.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Like based on the comments I made earlier, is that it's like obviously like a lot of these like we're gonna keep going. Freda's gonna keep learning magic. The trolls haven't attacked yet, and you know.
Eric Alberg he's in the same position of authority. He's still potentially installing bells.
Right. He has less allies.
There's still tension between Hilda still has not told her mom everything.
Right. And there is still, and granted that we did have that moment where it kind of seems like Gerda's like, bye.
Yeah, no, I think she's done with him at this point. She like gets that he's a liar, and she's like, "No, that's not what happened, and I'm done with you."
I think that he's been legitimately delegitimized. Okay, that's he's been delegitimized to Gerda, but they're still nothing's changed in the actual they're still working for the safety patrol. But yeah, it seems like she's not like under his spell or authority realistically anymore. But he's still like in this head position. So he'll probably be the villain of the movie. I don't know. I think that makes sense because considering if the movie's about and I could just read the graphic novel and have this answer, but I don't want to be spoiled. Hilda and the troll kids swap Freaky Friday places, right? So they it's going to be about trolls.
Oh, that's upsetting, though.
Okay. Question. So we were thinking, was it like the magic with like the rock people that they like the kid made the rock people? Like what's going on? Like
Yeah, I guess I don't know, but the trolls have magic. We knew that that troll that was communicating with them has magic, so that could come into play. But yeah, to conclude that point though, like so the trolls are going to be a main theme, and Eric Alberg is the antagonist to the trolls. So I think that makes sense if he's part of the movie. Also, so the big thing with Alberg, I saw a lot of like commentary that this show was making this season, which I really liked, like quote unquote political commentary. I saw like potential metaphors. This is very loose, but to immigration, to colonization is another one you could see it as. In general, definitely we're talking about Eric Alberg being like a fear-mongering type of politician.
Because I think that's the biggest one is that like, just the lying about the trolls. Like the trolls aren't doing anything. And also we know, and I think this was hinted at, is that like he was doing things on purpose. He knows it irritates the trolls. and like the bells. And then on top of that, I think there was some hinting, like when they're in the blimp, like we knew there would be trolls, but he didn't expect so many. So it's like, I wonder if they've done something else that we don't know about to lure the trolls.
Yes, I think there's some ambiguities to how much Eric Alberg is like in control of what's going on, or
Yes.
like understands what, like, it's maybe he genuinely believes trolls are really dangerous and he's lying, but he's lying in service of something he thinks is like just and noble, or is he like devious, selfish? There's some other thing going on. I think that's a little bit unclear.
Well, some
I think
of
it's
the stuff
both.
he said, yeah, I do think it's both, because some of what he said is, you know, he made comments to Hilda, like, you know, it's so hard to get famous these days. Like, used to, you could go out and fight a troll, and now he's like making the trolls come. So
Yeah.
I think that's a big part, is that he's very much, he wants to like save the day.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing, is he just wants to be a hero to the city. So he's slotting into a role, and I also think that feels very current.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
It does.
look at our president, to a lot of politicians, to like slotting into this like growing like type of othering, and that's the other thing I want to talk about, of groups of people, and like using
Yes.
that to your own gains. And to him, it's like a vanity thing, probably, where he wants to be like famous and loved. But yeah, it seems like he's taking on this issue because it's something that he's seeding into the minds of the city, and is speaking to people's fears.
Exactly. He's speaking to the fears they already have. Like, that was my interpretation of his character. He's like, he's in it for his own selfish gain. He doesn't like, he wouldn't twist the truth to always benefit himself if he really genuinely cared about safety. It really is just his ego and narcissism
It's like
as his end goal. But also, it's like, he understands the implication of being in Trollberg and the tainted history of Trollberg between humans and trolls. And he's just using that to his advantage. He's taking, like you said, Dylan, like the seeds of real prejudice and fear that are there, that are probably relatively mild for the average Trollberg citizen, and just amplifying it to this extreme degree to further his very personal agenda. And it is very timely, and it's still very diabolical.
Yeah, I completely agree with the way you described it. It's not like Eric Alberg did not create prejudice against the trolls,
No,
and it's probably a
channeling
result
it.
of the origins of the city and the city's colonist history, which is, I think, the show is aware of. But he is, amplifying it and exacerbating it to a extent for his own selfish gains, and just everything we're talking about feels very current.
Just fueling the fire, like just
fueling And
Yeah.
I
and
was
how charismatic he is, like what a good talker he is, how he
like
presents
the trolls
himself
aren't
to
really
others.
a problem, but he's gonna make them a problem.
And even though all of this is current, obviously this has also happened throughout history.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and probably, so I was really impressed by this aspect of the season. I think this added a layer of kind of complexity and just general weight to the proceedings of Hilda. Like Hilda's still mostly comfy and fun. But it always feels good to have a hefty backing to what is happening.
Well, we also have them, like, we're actually having Hilda and her mom and the main characters actually, like, so before it was just don't hurt the trolls just because they're trolls. Like, you shouldn't, like, it irritates them, it hurts them, like, Hilda noticed that, don't do that. But now we're also getting more into the trolls are sentient beings. And more in,
I'll talk about next.
Yeah, so that's what I'm really excited about more, is like we've gotten to actually interact with, like, before it was like we should, like, look, don't bother the trolls, they won't bother us. But now it's like humans and trolls can probably live together and it'd be awesome, and they're not so different than us. So I think that's a really interesting place that we're going and that we're showing with the main characters, with sitting down and having a meal.
It makes me excited in the way that, like, seasons 2 and 3 of Star, the whole Newman monster conversation was very much about that. And I'm very excited for the direction this show seems to be taking that, especially just like how much time they spent on the finale in particular, just like literally living in a troll community and like sharing their food and taking their blankets and just like acknowledging that like, oh yeah, this is a parent of a child, just like,
and we don't have to spend all of our time convincing other characters. Like, what I really like, so another thing I think the season did really well is like, I thought it was so funny. Like, you would like, two characters would go do something, like, oh crap, we got to catch David up. Oh, well, Hilda wasn't here. We need to catch Hilda up on what happened. So I thought, like when David goes to the witches' council, that was hilarious. And then when he's like, you're a witch? And, like, his crush on Kaisa, I mean, same, relatable. But, like, so sweet. But that's the other thing, too, is, like, while Hilda and her mom are in the mountain, we also have Gerda and David and Frida, they camp with the troll. So I think, like, that to me is, like, it's smart storytelling, and it adds a lot more weight to it. Like, you know, Hilda's going to befriend the troll kid, but this, I think it's a lot, like, I really appreciate, like, also having Frida and David, and, like, it just makes it more cohesive. And it's also, we're not going to have to go through this thing, like, you know, 6 episodes from now where Hilda has to try and convince her friends.
Everyone else, yeah.
We're all on the same page.
Yeah, so this is what excites me about the cliffhanger, even though it's like, oh, this is weird, what's going on here with the Hilda and potentially distressing, and it's, for the most part, it's like just really exciting to me because it shows that this is, the show is now very interested in the humanizing of trolls, which is, I totally agree, is what the finale was completely about. There's 2 separate journeys, the characters were split into 2, each had their own interactions with a troll, which painted them in a much more human light. And it was erasing the othering of trolls, which I think is what the villain of the season is largely doing. And a big theme of the season is, you know, the Eric contributing to this othering of trolls, you know, painting this other group of, you know, whether it be humans or creatures in this case, as different from us, shouldn't be interacting with us. They're dangerous.
Well, there's another layer to that too, because not only is there Alberg trying to ruin their lives with the bells constantly, but there's that like 2-headed troll that's also like the troll alpha, who seems to be the one. He's the one who's like picking fights with everyone, because there were so many times we'd see them like frozen in like a fight, which kind of, you know, initially it's like, oh no, they must be savages who just can't help but fight each other. Come to find out, it's just that one jerk who's just stealing everyone's food and keeping it in his troll tower. And so I love that they have that distinction too.
The other trolls fought him to save.
Yeah, when they saw them in trouble, they like stuck up for humans, and I was like, dang, that's like a lot though. They took your town and your help. Like, that is amazing.
I think it's unclear what is truly going on with the trolls. Is this troll, like, is he a bad actor? Is he like just, you know, someone who just like doesn't like humans, considering how terribly they're treating them?
What is his vendetta? Are we going to find out why he's so mad?
He was teasing them in particular because they lost all his food. Because they opened the trap door.
Just a personal thing, with the story. And the biggest mystery, I think, is like what's going on with the child troll that helped them out. Like, but then what is this special connection with those trolls? That troll is definitely doing magic. Yeah, do all trolls do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or is it just that one troll?
You know, I think a question that comes up is there some connection between humans and trolls? Are trolls, you know, were they former humans? Is there a human aspect to this troll in particular? All trolls? Like, I think all these things are kind of in play in terms of the direction they're going. And that's really exciting and interesting, and the show is committed to continuing that storyline. But yeah, this general increasing theme of humanizing and undoing the othering of the trolls is a wonderful theme that plays into the empathy and kindness that Hilda as a show exhibits, and is something that completely needs to be taken, considering, you know, what they get into with the city's kind of colonist origins. Yeah. And in general, just when you make a show about these like kind of mythical beings interacting with humans and the influence of humans on this like naturally like kind of magic creature community, I totally agree and love the direction of this for Hilda. And it makes me really excited for the movie.
Yeah. And for me, it's like we never quite got there with Star. And
no, yeah.
And so I would really like us, and it feels like this would, you know, this has been a push, you know, from the this is very much like the kind of the focal point of the show is this, they live in Trollberg, and this we've always
that's what I was saying earlier. It's like the biggest narrative through line they've had since the beginning. So it must be the thing that's going to carry through as many seasons as they make. Like, that only makes sense somehow, especially with them double downing on it this
with
second season.
And,
with the main guy whose purpose is to, like, get rid of trolls.
Right. And we're building up to, like, we've made all the trolls mad. We've seen all the bonfires. They're coming.
Yeah, yep. It's all building up, and also as we talked about this arc of Hilda increasing her perspective / empathy on to other perspectives in her life. I think it also is a perfect tie into that as her considering the troll's perspective.
And now she has to be a troll kid.
And now she has to be. It's a forced empathy as she has to live as a troll. Yeah,
forced empathy. Oh my god, that's true. That is what it is.
I will say at first I was like, oh god, she's naked, but then it got worse.
We'll have to see how this plays out.
It's disturbing, but I mean, it's fine. But also, I'm like, ooh.
I think I hope that it's not just that one troll that is different.
Right.
But also, I think that troll has been presented as different. So there needs to be some payoff there, but also hopefully it is larger conclusions about trolls in general and the humans' relationships to trolls.
Is this the same troll we've been seeing the whole time? Like, I'm assuming this is the same kid, and like. At first, we're like, oh, it's just a troll and its kid, but we've literally seen this troll, like, the whole season.
Interesting.
We've definitely seen a troll like this even season 1, because there was that troll that came to get its rock baby back. Maybe that baby has grown slightly.
Maybe.
Still be the same
we need a long Tumblr post investigating the
very long.
The same throughout the season. Okay, I'll look for that.
That's what the internet's for.
That is what the internet's for, yeah.
The internet's for someone else who did it, so we don't have to do it.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's do some quicker hits to close things out through the rest of these topics. I think we've hit on the hefty stuff already.
We haven't talked about the witches enough and how hot Kaiser is. Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about the librarian and the episode The Witches. I think that's going to be a fan favorite, of course. And she's that was a favorite kind of like very minor character in season 1, and she is expanded upon. We learn her name, Kaiser, although I think people are probably still going to call her the librarian. And she's a significant role in the Jorts incident as well.
That episode is so like this is gonna be one of those, like, obviously the Jorts episode isn't like the best thing ever, but like I think it's gonna be one of those, like, one of the most memorable episodes of Hilda, because it is a great episode. It's really funny.
Yeah, let's briefly talk about Jortson. That's our sequel to the Tide Mice episode, which is arguably one of the best episodes of season 1. I had to look up,
so we knew the Tide Mice were important, but we were like, I don't remember like what they're for. I mean, obviously you could like extrapolate what was going on, but we were like, we need to look this up. So we paused it and I had to Google. I was like, what are the Tide Mice? What do they do? Because I couldn't remember. Like, this is one of those I probably should have rewatched, but like I don't got time for that, okay? And so I was like, all right, it's for good luck, and oh man, that was.
Yeah, I mean,
who would have thought? Like,
I didn't remember that they was left unresolved at the end, which is an important
part.
Yeah,
there's like they dispose of all but 2, and they hide in Hilda's hair and go back home with her, and then they make that mouse nest and get babies.
So we finally see it. A very memorable introduction with this random guy getting promoted everywhere.
Oh, good! It was so funny.
Then the episode turns into a big Ghostbusters reference,
which is great, which we're always about. And Kaiser was like, "I'm having so much fun," and she was like, "David, you're doing great," and David's like, "I'm in love with you." Like,
she's also like, I don't get out much. This is fun for me. I'm like, girl, so relatable 2020 mood.
So good.
I think David was just like, it was just a attractive older person.
In awe?
I think it was just
absolutely like just older. Like, it's David. Like, also poor sweet David this season. He has been through so much.
We'll talk about David in a second. Yeah, but this was a big episode for him. And then at the end you get Mouse Whiskers Hilda.
Amazing. Like, also great punishment.
Is she gonna be like pulling those out every day? Is that the implication? She like shaves them off?
Clearly they're not there anymore after.
It's only for the end of the day.
Oh, end of the day. I thought it was going to be forever. I'm like, wow.
No, it's literally just for the day. Like, they're literally like just for the day. So which is
that's just like, cool then. That's fine.
Exactly. And it's really funny because like they keep every time we're gonna like, so they fix the void and they're like, now we're gonna throw you in the juvenile void. Like, it's so annoying.
The void. We just did the Mouse Whiskers thing because it's cute. Like, that's the reason visually.
I guess that.
I mean, there's no really other. I mean, everything with the witches is kind of random, though.
Yeah,
I did also really like when they follow. Like, oh my god, they go through like 25 secret rooms to get to the witches.
The library within the library within.
And
then
they make like this offhanded comment. Like, Frida's like, we would have lost David like 5 secret rooms, which I thought was so funny.
Yeah. What else do you guys love about the episode, The Witch?
It's like, it's one of those, I mean, it does give me vibes like you were saying, Dylan, similar to like Hedgehog. Just like when you have a character who's not quite the main character, but she ends up being like really good at something like magic. It's like the combination of like them having this amazing destiny, them having all these relationships with like older women who are like taking them into this like society that's going to help them grow more powerful. Like that kind of communal bond, I think, is really exciting. And then it was kind of like you assumed, I guess, maybe they held it because she's just the main character. But then they're like, oh, Frida. And she's like, oh, what? But like, she was the one who was guessing how to get through all of the maze stuff.
Oh, that was great, too. She's just such a genius. And just going through all the rooms. Smart. And even Kai's is like, geez.
Yeah, she's like such a nerd for that stuff. It makes so much sense that it would be her. And like Frida was like one of my favorite things about the first season. So it's just like, yes, more for Frida to do. She can open doors with her hands with magic now. Like she can talk to creatures with her mind powers.
Oh, I like that. Like Kraken.
Amazing. Like, this is going to be so beneficial to the team. It's such a good addition to her character.
Yeah, I agree. I think Frida was I feel like she didn't have as much to do in season 1, and she was like still a standout character. So giving her this major plot, I think, was really satisfying.
Yeah,
and learning with Tilly, who is like arguably one of the best characters ever.
Tildy,
like she like does what she wants, and like I'll even say in the 50-year night, like. She was going after that neighbor guy. She really wanted to dance with him. I was just like, girl, like, I love this energy. You're really cute. Like, you just go for what you want. Like, yes. And it looks like that's been her strategy her whole life.
I want, like, background dates where Tildy just slowly in the background,
nice,
like, it's going to be so good. Also, I just love Tildy just shows up every time they're talking to the witches and Tilly's like, y'all are being ridiculous. Like, every time.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Which again is kind of like Ramona in Summer Camp Island, because sometimes she drops in and is like, you guys are being stupid, here's what you're gonna do, and everyone just listens to her because she's the alpha.
Tildy's the Ramona. I like that. Well, other episodes that were your guys' favorites?
I really like number 4, and I'll just say that as someone who was like kind of low on David the first season. It's not his fault. He's just, he's not as like bullheaded as Hilda or as smart as Frida. But this episode really made me warm up to him, and honestly, I love that he likes Light Rock. And I love that
it was so cute. He's so cute.
I know. And like when he starts singing in the battlefield to the Light Rock, I was like, this is so cinematic and like wonderful. I can't believe he'll like.
Also, they just killed him. They straight up killed David.
I can't believe he gets this. Yeah, and he was like, and then she put his head on backwards by accident.
Oh, that was a horrible gag. I was like, oh my god. Like
Warriors was like a pretty amazing surprise episode. I
didn't think they were actually going to kill each other. I thought it was going to be like laser tag, and I was like, oh no, they just cut his arm off. Like I wasn't ready for that.
Every night, forever.
I was shocked by the violence of this episode.
Me too. I really thought it was gonna be like laser tag or whatever, because their weapons
just
glow.
Behead
like,
David?
Oh,
like I know it wasn't bloody, but he got beheaded.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh my god. And they're like, the whole time, me and my wife were like, how many times are we gonna traumatize these children? And then like
traumatize me watching. That was
insane. I was like, I don't know how old he is, but he's like 10, and you just beheaded him.
I couldn't handle that. I didn't expect this from Hilda.
No, I didn't either. And then when they're like, he doesn't remember, and they're like, yeah, I think David's died enough tonight. And David's like, what?
I hope he doesn't remember, honestly.
Speaking of trauma, the windmill was traumatic.
Oh,
yes.
no!
That was an intense episode. I thought that was one of the standout ones, too. I mean, honestly, I thought the two best episodes of season 1 were the Tide Mice and the Weather episode, and we had a sequel to both of them, so I was very happy with that.
Yeah.
The problem this season, I was like, you're important. I don't remember why. And they're like, the weather station. I was like, right, you're crazy.
Lovely. I love her as a character because I just like, she's so unhinged and it's just so memorable, but also like, I would never want to be around her. Like,
the Frankenstein Nissa messed me up. I was like, we gotta stop. Like,
and she used him with dark magic. Like, are we gonna have a subplot? Frida, like, she maybe wants to learn dark magic now because there's like established different kinds of magic.
Dark Frida arc. Oh no, you put in the universe. Now we want a dark Frida arc.
Shut up! No. I don't want dark Frida. I don't want it.
Eventually, one of these dark arcs will happen. It'll be great.
Dylan, every time you're like dark arc, it doesn't happen.
It's because we watch kids shows. That's the problem.
You were really close to getting Dark Star, though. That one's probably the one that
we kind of did that. Yeah,
we basically got Dark Star.
No, but episode 4 and 5 were two very intense episodes towards the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and I was like, y'all, can we stop like traumatizing the children and then me? Like I was like, bro, I don't.
Yeah. I thought the windmill went for it. I was impressed by that. So yeah, and any other episodes you guys want to mention?
I mean, the Lindworm is great.
The captain of the Dragon ship from episode 2, Abigail. I was like so into Abigail.
I knew it. I was about to say Michelle was gay for the Dragon, and I was right.
Abigail's amazing.
I knew
like,
I just said the Dragon. I was like, Michelle had the hots for the
Oh
Dragon.
my god, yes! Like her barnacle-y coat and her hair seaweed. It's just like, she's such a great captain. I just love her.
How many times is this show going to make me cry? Like, legitimately. Like, every other episode, they're like, you want to cry? Here you go. You want some tears? Here you go. We're going to kill David. And then the pirates are going...
Reunion with their family.
Yeah, with all their family.
Oh, I want to talk about, I think everything they did with Alfor this season. I love Alfor. Like, he's so great. Like, what a great, great character. And then I thought it was a funny follow-up. One, we kept seeing the Lost Clan. Like, they were literally in every episode. Yeah. And then they were like, okay, so when the replacement happened, me and Tanya were like, oh, no. Like, I think Alfor might be our collective favorite character. We were like, absolutely not. And like I do think it's really funny. They were like, this sounds made up. And it's like, no, this is what happens. Like this happens every day.
Yeah.
I feel that Gerda,
and he's got a boo thing. He has like a girlfriend now. Like
there's a fangirl.
Yeah. I don't think he needs a love interest so soon. I do like that Gerda started vibing with him hardcore. Like that was such a pleasant surprise.
God, that was
they
so
bonded
funny.
over paperwork and proper protocols. And I'm like, oh my god, this is perfect for them.
So like, oh, I'm the spirit, and then everyone's watching him like, you were so stupid. What are you saying?
And
then he's like,
she's so into it.
I love that the whole sequence is so good. Also, Gerda is just there's like the Gerda, and so there's like Gerda, and then there's Greta and Kipo. And
Yeah,
Gerda,
I'm Greta too.
Yeah, no, they're the same.
They're the same character, but Gerda is just like so much better.
Gerda is smarter and nicer.
Gerda's just a victim of circumstance, but I feel like befriending Alfred did wonders for her. Spending the
and then she was like, I recognize that
really
voice.
Helped her. Like, I think we're gonna see Gerda like strongly turn to Hilda's side by the next season, if there is a next season. Like, she's on her way.
Yeah, I guess
she's getting properly disillusioned to the assumptions she had about the magical world in real time, and we're seeing it in a really subtle progression, and I love that for her. Love to see it, Gerda.
Love to see it. Yeah.
Can we talk about the really disturbing Christmas episode? Because
that was the only other one to mention. Yeah, it was very weird.
It was weird.
Like
very,
it was
very weird.
So I was like, this is bad. And then like, I mean, the veggie broth is definitely like the highlight of the episode.
I do think the end of the episode is very gorgeous with the tree lighting and everything. Yes. I thought that's very good.
We need to talk about how gorgeous the Twig episode was. It's so pretty.
All the celestial, and by the way, Twig also is having dreams of his old home.
And the Borealis somehow is in Hilda's world. Yeah,
I want to say that, but I can't. I literally can't pronounce it. But yeah, that's what I mean. That's crazy.
Something like okay. But no, there's so we talk about some pretty animation too. Those are some good examples. Andy Serkis was like, I'm gonna be in the new season of Hilda, but it's a secret role, no spoilers. It's like, why couldn't you have spoiled one of these? You're the main Christmas lad. Who cares? You
also, I want everyone to know that Dylan's outline says weird Christmas dudes, which is completely accurate.
Was this episode lost on me because I'm Jewish, or is this not also weird for everyone?
Oh no, it's super weird. Well, this is one of those like I am a sucker for like when you have fantasy worlds and you have like their version of whatever holiday, like Winterfest.
Yeah. I also think they're doing like traditional German type of thing with like Christmas. Yeah, I think that's
so like I was in, and then I was like, I'm out. like because they were talking about it on their way. They're like, oh, we're Sparrow Scouts and we're gonna sell broth. And I'm like, that's adorable. And they're like,
then they come.
Dudes. And I was like, I'm out. And they were like, are you naughty children? And I was like, I'm really out right now.
Wow.
And then,
that really like made me uncomfortable. It was like the way they said naughty was just so intense, and it just made them look so
there
evil.
is no
like I don't know about this energy. Like I don't know.
Our Lord 2020, there is no reason to say the word naughty in any context.
Naughty. You typically say it in a Santa context, I would say, if it's
yes.
As much as I felt ambivalent about the weird Christmas dates, I'm just gonna call them that because Dylan did write that in the outline. I love the spooky lady who's supposed to eat children's soup. Like when she's walking in, the first shot you see of her, she has like this big coat on with all these little cages on her back. And then you see like her mask on with like the crack where like one real eye is glowing through. Like I actually found her very like interesting. And then she takes all the soup back and gets like crunk on broth in her little tree house at the end. I'm like, yeah, that's like not a bad life. Maybe that's all I need. Like I was kind of
the best part. So I thought the best parts of the episode were that the broth was important. That's like the number one best part of the episode is that broth was really important. And then also like really sweet. They were like, we gotta get a present for mom. And then David was like, you owe me so much candy. Like what a sweet. Like
candy.
So sweet.
My tip.
Also the whole time he was like tips. Like so funny.
I do like that. You got something that made me realize that like episode 10 kind of feeds on the back of episode 8, and that like that's when Hilda's like realizing that her mom's been upset and that she could have been a better kid. So then that doubles down in 10 where she's like, I really need to get her a present to let her know I care about her and I like appreciate her. It becomes like way more important to her. And then
her friends are the best.
Yeah. So I feel like there is like a really nice progression of that stuff, like every couple episodes being seeded into, which is nice.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that was handled really well. And that was like this. I think Hilda and Mom in that episode is the sweetest parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We talked about some of the standout animation moments episode. I also think 5 has some of the standout animation with the windmill. But that was the big talk after season 1 is, oh my God, this show's so gorgeous. The color palettes. I didn't notice the color palettes as much this season. I don't know if it was just me.
I did, but it felt less like, oh my God, and more just like, this feels so right. I want to cozy up in my blanket because these are pretty colors working together.
Feel like in the past 2 years, not necessarily animation, but there's been a lot of media that is very similar in tone and like whimsy to Hilda. So maybe it's kind of like dulled us just a bit.
I will say I had a similar reaction to Kipo season 1. Kipo, I was like, oh my God, the animation is incredible.
Right,
these scenes. And then in the later seasons, I was more used to it, I guess. Or it's possible they put more effort specifically into the first season. I had a similar reaction to Hilda. I was more blown away by the first season, but probably it's just you're more used to it at this point.
Well, I think that is it's one of those things where it's like the first time you've seen it. Like Kipo, well, it's like Voltron. We had 7 seasons of Voltron. The first time you watch Voltron, you're like, oh my God, we're in space. This is beautiful. And there's a giant robot, and you're like, this is amazing. And then by season 7 of Voltron, you don't really like. They do some beautiful things, obviously with planets, but it starts to like fade in, and especially now that like we're like, oh, Studio Mir is working on another project, we have to watch it. So like, but I do think like Kipo and Hilda, like it's like the first time you've seen it, you haven't really seen anything like it. But then now we're like, oh well, it's not as shocking anymore.
Yeah, but they're still incredibly gorgeous.
Love Hilda, like it just makes you feel good. Like it's just great. The music is amazing.
Like it kept like all that momentum so well, and that was more my concern. Like, is it gonna not feel as special and cozy and intimate?
It definitely kept that.
It kept it, and I feel like it even like doubled down in some episodes in a way that was really exciting to see. So that just makes me a little relieved. It's like, okay, like they still know who they are. They got their essence, and they probably will very much for the movie too.
I'm pumped for a movie. Yeah, I'm also scared, but pumped. Movies make me read.
I just don't want Albert to be in it because, like, I don't want to see him anymore. But
he'll be in it.
He's so central to the plot now. That's the unfortunate thing.
I feel like he's not not enough of a threat. I feel like to like be truly disgusted by him. Like he really is like he's like
he's just like,
conniving, but he's not that scary. I feel
I'll be honest. If he was a woman, we would hate him less because he's just that annoying like male character villain.
You guys would be standing.
That's true.
It's true.
I wouldn't be standing him because of all the bells messing up the woofs.
That's true. Like, that is the one really bad.
Be like,
thing,
oh, this hot villain, but no, we're like he's just this annoying dude being a dude.
It's so true. Delaney's so
Look,
right.
Eric Alberg is hot. I'll say it.
Oh my God.
I'll be the one to say it.
Like Kuvira, like I was that person. Yeah. I love Kuvira. She's so hot. She's horrible person. So but I'm like, oh,
Kuvira's much worse than Eric Alberg is like a person.
That's what I was saying. Like
Eric Alberg wishes he could be Kuvira. He just is thinking really small.
He's trying to be, but he will never be. Yeah, it's true.
It's a junior version.
He's just gonna go down in history as the Bell guy. That's all.
That's true.
I was gonna say, I love that season 2, the bells, like in Hilda, bells are like the biggest threat. Like it's like such a Hilda thing. This like totally innocuous thing. It's like bells is the.
So every time he pulls out his stupid little bell.
You love it, is what you're saying.
Grab it away from him. Just throw it away. Okay. I was shocked that there was like that ancient bell under the water, which implies that Trollberg has been doing this for centuries as a tactic.
Yeah, that was messed up. And then they were automatically hitting it, and it was like, bro, no wonder the Kraken's mad.
Yeah,
that goes back to what we're saying about like Alberg. I mean, did he install the bell? I guess it was there already, but that's what we're saying. Like Alberg is not like creating any of this. I think he's feeding on, right?
But he did make them all autonomous, and they rang every. Oh my God! Can you imagine like? So like,
how can the people like that? That's my question. Like, how can anyone want that?
They can't. Like when I went to school, like we have a bell tower, and like it would go off, like it would play like My Old Kentucky Home at like noon, and it would play
every day.
Yes, every day it would play My Old Kentucky Home.
It's the law.
That's the Kentucky experience, Delaney.
It would play My Old Kentucky Home, and then like. And then it would play my alma mater at some random time I don't remember, and like so every hour on the hour though that's just one. Can you imagine living in a city with like 9 million bells? And these bells are huge. Like I would go insane. Like no.
We've learned that bells are not as innocuous as you would think. That's the moral of the season.
Yeah, but bells are evil.
Yeah, bells are evil. Speaking of sound, I was going to say, speaking of Voltron, Eric Alberg wishes was Lotor, but he'll never be Lotor.
Oh my God.
I love him, but he's no Lotor.
Not hot.
I mean, he's hot, but he's not that hot.
He's not. It's the mustache. Can't do the mustache. No.
I mean,
his voice is like not as Tim Curry as he wants to be. If he was Tim Curry voice, yeah, it'd be sexy. But he's not. He's like a off-brand. He's the store-bought version.
He's off-brand Gaston.
Yeah,
he really is. Yeah,
that's true. He even has
intentionally, and it's. I think it's pretty funny. Okay, the music, they continued more licensed songs, which is still increasingly common for animation, but still pretty uncommon. And I love them continuing to use.
Whenever we get lyrics, I get excited. Also, I'm sorry, like Michelle said, David listening to Light Rock, hilarious. It was like the same 3 songs, amazing.
I think it was the same song, but yeah, that was good. And I just want to reiterate, Hilda's opening credits are incredible.
They're so good.
It's a great song, and just the way the fast moving visuals, and they changed it to incorporate all the elements from season 2 in it. I went back out the season, I'm pausing it. There's a lot of stuff from the finale too that's just so quick. In the opening.
Yeah.
So I do hate, because we're watching it on Netflix, that they're like, oh, we have a different song. And we also have every song, like every episode has like basically a new song in the end credits. And they're like, you get to listen to like 10 seconds of it before we watch the next episode. And I'm like, Netflix.
It's so upsetting.
Stop.
I want to listen to the whole thing.
I'm like, why you do this to me, Netflix?
It's sad. And I think the sixth episode, one of the episodes has the original song Bella Ramsey wrote about Hilda.
And she sings it.
And she sings it, yeah.
That's who I am. Good. I will say, so good. This season gave me vibes more. Like, I know we keep talking about Kipo a lot, but like Kipo had a very good sense of how to make like essentially mini music videos out of whole scenes of using licensed music in a just very visually cinematic way. And I feel like in season 2 of Hilda, there were a lot of moments that felt like that for me. Maybe more subdued, like more calming energy, but like just as nice. And I was surprised how many like just like breaths of like calming, contemplative, pretty
Hilda
scenery there were.
Is really like atmospheric.
Yeah.
Which is why I really, like it's very like it's Hilda is like the vibes. Like
it's so good at being vibes. It's true. Yeah.
I agree that Hilda is one of the best shows in terms of use of licensed music. Kipo and then Mysticons was another really good one with that too.
Oh, I gotta bring it up.
I really gotta watch that someday.
Michelle, 50 years later, not just but
it's only 2 seasons, right?
Wait, so it doesn't matter. She's gonna watch it 50 years from now and cry.
If someone gives me a link, I heard it's hard to track down.
I have links. I'll give you links.
Yay! Okay, there we go.
Yeah. We talked about most of these characters already. Woodman. We didn't talk a lot about Woodman. Captain Woodman's very fun.
Captain Woodman. Yes.
It's
a different character. Captain Woodman.
I will say I was dumb when it was like, you think they were mad I won a hat, and I was like, oh, you won a bow. Like, I was like, oh.
It's he was great in that episode, the second episode, and then he has a few other appearances.
Like at first, I didn't like him like in season 1, but I'm like, you're just annoyingly charming. Like and I really like.
I think that's his vibe. Yeah,
like
that's his vibe.
And I really liked like when they go to his house when they're looking for Twig, and Mom's like, I gotta go. Like, I hate you. We have to go. Like, why are we talking to Woodman? Like.
I was Woodman. I feel like was kind of the breakout character of season 1 for a lot of people. So I'm surprised by the show's restraint in use of Woodman this season.
I think they have to so that Frida can shine because Woodman is just Also, he can't show up as much. So
yeah, but they leave us wanting more with Woodman. I am all about
a good position to be in.
I do think less Woodman does a lot. Like, I do like Woodman, but I'm like, I appreciate
we got our iconic Woodman episode 2, so it's good. Any of these other characters anyone has more to say about? I think we've hit on the main things with most people.
I mean, I would die for Hysen and Tildy. That's about it.
Yeah.
Or David. He's such an angel.
I think similar things about the Woodman, I would say, in terms of use, could be said about the librarian as well. I think she was a breakout character, and they used her much more, but still, like they had restraint with her. I would say.
Yes, but she's a fun character, and I'm excited to see more.
Yeah, I think so. David, I think we don't need to get into it too much, but David didn't have the same type of consistent arc that Frida had, which I thought is kind of interesting. But he had these kind of standout episodes throughout. So you could definitely say like maybe if there's a future season of Hilda beyond the movie, David getting a more concrete arc could be high on the list of things that they'd be looking to do.
I will say that
seems like the right time to do that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be good. Like
usually with characters like David, I just don't care about them at all. But I think they've done I think David's a sweetie. I think they've done a good job. Like usually I'm like, oh whatever. Like, but no, David's like great. I think he's a sweetie. And also, I think he's an important foil to Hilda because Hilda's like Hilda, you gotta calm down. I mean, David also, is pretty cautious, but at the same time, like, I do think they're a strong trio. Like how much they all care about each other and like.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because like I will say, like when there were episodes that focused a little more on David's kind of push and pull, like Hilda and Frida have like a shared like hunger for adventure, and that's one of the things that sets them apart from both of them, because like Frida is very pragmatic and thoughtful, but David's cautiousness is like a very different kind of reaction to a situation, and I feel like the three of them work together really well because like Hilda has enough like just like bullish energy for like for two people, so it's good that there's like a thoughtful person and a cautious person to kind of balance that out. I think you need both of them.
Well, I think what we need that would really help is if we had like a Hilda David episode.
Yeah. When's the last time they hung out one-on-one? I guess like the Face Your Fears episode, the dreaming episode in season 1, but since then, not really.
I think I was anticipating a bigger David episode this season. I feel like they did a little more with him in season 1, but yeah, I think that could definitely be something we do. But obviously like much more happy that we amped up Frida in the plot.
Yeah, I agree. Like between the two, I'm glad Frida got to be a witch. That's amazing.
But also we love David. But yeah. Glad it was Frida. Okay, I think we hit on basically everything I've written down here. So Delaney, was there anything else you want to talk about with Hilda season 2?
I just really love the season, and they ended on a cliffhanger, and I'm mad about it. But I'm hopefully it's not 2 years again, but also COVID. And this is a beautiful show. It takes a lot to animate, and I mean, I'm just really excited. I'm really glad I got to watch Hilda. I love Hilda. It was well worth the wait.
Yeah, I think we know that they're in pre-production already on the movie, so probably not as long.
But maybe they're making the movie first before they make another season.
No, I think that's definitely what's happening. Yeah, but so I think in terms of like,
God, we're gonna have a Hilda movie. We're gonna have a Ladybug movie. Like,
that's all you need. Yeah,
that's all
you need. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
England, you got France. What more do you need? Those are is the Ladybug London special gonna go to visit Hilda? Is that what's gonna happen? Okay, more on that in the Ladybug podcast. Michelle, anything else from Hilda season 2?
I'm very impressed by the rewatch value of the show. I do think it's one of those shows that's just easier, like similar to Summer Camp Island. I say it's just I love that there's a narrative, even more so in this season. They're doubling down on some things, but also there's just so many standalone episodes that, like me and Delaney were saying, are just so vibey. It's so easy to watch them a lot, and hopefully that's going to be really good for the Netflix algorithm that determines the future of the show. So selfishly, I'm just really glad it works so well to watch so often. It's a very low stakes show in a way that feels really nice and just charming, and like eating a milkshake. It's just tasty.
No, bringing back the milkshake for Delaney. Yeah.
It's really...
Hilda season 1 must have done very well because they greenlit season 2 and a movie right away. It must have done
that pretty soon. Like, I feel like the news.
Movie got greenlit before season 2 aired. I think we're in good shape. Yeah, with however much. I mean, Netflix doesn't do anything for too long, unfortunately, anymore. But we'd love a season 3. That would be a win. I think if we got movie then a season 3, then we're good. I mean, as much as they won't, but that would be wonderful. Do we have a consensus best episode? We need to pick representatives for OVAs. I don't think many people are going to finish this season. I see Michelle voted for the Deer Fox, and those are the.
Okay, I mean that's
my
consensus
that, like,
is hurts your heart. Yeah, like, but I
love 8 and 9 are my big two.
Yeah, 8 is also very, very good. It just doesn't make you cry as much. I mean, maybe
my gay heart says 3, but I do agree with 8 and 9.
And I think 3 is a super legit pick as well. I feel like maybe Deer Fox is the one we all agree is really incredible.
It is very incredible. That's for sure.
I mean, I'm on board with that. I think both of honestly, 8 and 9 are 2 of my top episodes of the year. Also, I will say Hilda, I do think it deserves a best show nomination. I think it's one of the best shows.
Yes,
it's just very solid, like what we talk about, and like this experience of watching Hilda. Like, you're not there's. Some shows it's more of like a roller coaster. Hilda, quality wise, I should say, like you know what you're getting.
Yeah, no, it's really consistent, like really comfy, and But I also think this season did amp up the, like, I do think there's 2 really incredible episodes, plus there's other really good episodes. So I really feel like it, season 1, I feel like I was more like, it's consistent, it's fun, but I think this season is especially standout.
Well, I mean, and also, like, I think it does some really interesting things narratively, not just with Deer Fox, but I mean, episode 8, and like, I think Hilda, like, as much as you don't think about it, Hilda does push the envelope narratively, in some, like, especially
those 2 episodes certainly did, and then there's a double finale where we had multiple plot lines going and with common themes. I think there's definitely some complexity here too, in addition to all of the things we love about Hilda.
And I wouldn't nominate for the OVAs, but I do think the Jorts incident is like a sleeper hit.
No, that's on my list of that's the next tier of the, but that's on my list.
Good.
It was really fun. Yeah.
Like, I think it's up there with it's up there to me with the VAT episode.
The VAT episode
in Rick and Morty.
The vat of acid. I get okay. That's an interesting comparison. The Jorts incident to the vat of acid episode. Okay, I have to think about that. But I guess it starts off with a weird opening, and
I guess for me, it's like the absurdity, like.
If any Hilda episode is like a Rick and Morty, it would be that episode. Yeah, I think so. The like absurd escalation of things. Also, I don't know who to pick between Frida and Twig for supporting.
Oh, it's hard. It's so hard.
I pick Frida, but like I've bonded with that. Like I would pick her.
I think Frida was great. Yeah. Maybe if we do Deer Fox for episode, let's split it. If we do Deer Fox for episode, do Frida for supporting character. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so that's unless other people vote, that'll be what we'll do. Okay, so thank you for let us know what you think about the Hilda season 2. You leave any comments anywhere you're listening to this on YouTube, on the website at overlyanimated.com. Find all the links again at overlyanimated.com about us, and if you want to consider supporting us via Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, especially our patron podcast Carter, and thanks as always to our patron executive producers Ryan, Steve, Beatrice, Hugh, Michael, Needle, and Phonician. We'll be back in 2 weeks as normal, so check us out then. Topic to be finalized, but we'll be back on the 30th. Thanks for listening, guys. We will see you then. Bye.
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 Did you see the Polygon article?
Yes.
I told y'all. I said it.
I haven't read it.
2019.
I bookmarked it.
Honestly, there have been a lot of those articles past few months.
Because they know the truth. That's why there's so many.
Yeah,
articles.
they finally caught on to what we've been talking about for a while.
I said this in 2019, and every step of the way, Dylan.
Why are you saving this? Why are you saving this until now? This is great
believe
material.
You, Delaney. I believe you. Toot your horn. Go for it.
So 2020 is our year, is what you're saying definitively.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll
always remember 2020 fondly.
Yeah.
Television, yes.
Everything else terrible, but like, damn it, we got some gays on TV.
Okay, that'll be the post-credit scene.